Hi, everyone, and welcome to our broadcast of As the Law Turns. Happy to have you guys today. Thank you for joining. Judge will not be joining us today, but she will be joining us on further episodes. Tonight, I'm deciding let's just chat. It's a lot been happening in the news, and I have a few things that I may want to talk about, few specifics, but for the most part, we're just gonna chat about a few little things. So, guys, glad to have you here. As just representing for the Black attorneys because about 5% of all attorneys in the United States are Black. And so, kind of just wanted to bring attention to that and put more Black attorneys on a visual platform where you can actually see them and learn from them. So, I'm happy to have had so many attorneys on so far and thus far. And I'm excited, of course, as I always am, about tonight's episode. So, I got a lot. Like, things have been happening, y'all, in this news. I mean, if it's not one thing, it's another thing. I don't even know where to begin. An update on the shooter in Texas is that the families have decided to sue the estate of the deceased shooter for $100 million for the deaths of the young people, teachers and children included. I'm not mad at it. I think it's a smart idea. I say go for it. Um, I think that they have all opportunity to sue them. This man killed their children and took away members of their family. So I think that it is important that something be done. So I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm wondering what's going to happen in the settlement. But I'm curious. I understand sometimes we see these big we see these big suits and settlements, and the we think about, oh, someone should suffer, or we think about, oh, someone should have to pay for it, and I completely agree. But you have to consider some things when this happens, and one of those things is, would his estate even be able to afford this suit? That's something to think about because at the end of the day, I know that we want to say, oh, he should be charged, he should get 100% have to pay $100 million. All of those children lost their lives. All of those, the teachers that lost their lives, somebody should pay and they should sue $100 million and they should get $100 million. That's all fine and dandy. But as with the Cardi B suit that happened earlier in this year, we have to consider things like, well, does his estate actually have the money to pay this? Now, that's a question to be asked because if his estate doesn't have the money to pay, what do they say in the phrase? That's like trying to get blood from a turnip. You don't want to get to the point where it's like trying to get blood from a turnip. So I'm curious what the government's going to do here and whether they're going to essentially changing my lighting up here, guys. Whether they are going to have some kind of curbing. I don't know what Texas rules are. I do know that some states, they have a limit or a maximum that can be gained in certain type of cases. So it's possible that they may end up, you know, who knows, getting to that maximum limit and it may not be $100,000. It just may not be $100,000. It's highly likely that it probably won't. I think that it's probably going to be best to look into some options as well with the government, maybe. Just a thought there. due to the inactivity of the law enforcement officers. Not sure which avenue the family is going to go in. If they are going to maybe join the state and maybe some of the officers' estates as well. But currently, the lawsuit is alleging that it is $100 million from the shooter's estate. Now, it's from his estate, for those that don't understand why. It's from his estate because he's dead. So you can't sue him. So you have to sue his basically what he had left over or what monies they could possibly get from whatever he had left over. That could include stocks, that could include bank accounts if he had anything in his bank account, that could include any businesses that he had, that can include any inheritance that he may have been likely to get from anybody or he may have gotten. Basically anything that at the end of the day would probably be involved in probate is up for grabs. And so the question, as I said, is does that estate measure up to $100,000? Can they even get $100,000 from this? I don't think so. I'm under the impression that he probably doesn't have that kind of money, and probably his family members and their family members don't have that kind of money. I think that the families are going to be a little disappointed um, to find out how much he probably does have, which is probably not a lot. Probably not a lot. Let's face it, if he had more, he may have been doing better for himself. I think so. I'm going to assume that he probably don't have enough. There was a teacher that spoke out about it, and one of the teachers was mentioning that it's something that they would never forget. And he said this initial lawsuit, or the lawyer, the Texas-based lawyer that brought the lawsuit, states that this initial lawsuit will allow us to discover evidence and possibly add other parties to the lawsuit if necessary. And that's what I'm talking about. So it's highly likely that this lawsuit is going to start enjoining other people than just his estate in an effort to make sure that they can get to that $100 million request that they're trying to ask for, because it's highly likely that just his estate alone is not going to do the trick. It's not going to get to the amount that they want, and they're not going to be able to get anything out of just his estate. So they're going to have to try to look and find who else could possibly become parties of this legal action, who else could be considered responsible parties. I stretch to think that, of course, that's going to include possibly the officers' families, the government, because this is a state school or a public school, which means likely getting some government funding. Um, I think that they're going to be able to stretch this a little farther to a few more people in the future. But this is, as the attorney mentioned before, this is the beginning, which means this is where we start. It's got to start somewhere, and other people can be added throughout the lawsuit over time. So, whomever they determine, hey, this needs to be here, this needs to be here, that's going to be there, this needs to be here, or these people are also responsible, or maybe we'll sit back on those people. That'll be great. So for right now, let's just say that we know they're suing the estate. It's possible they're going to probably add in the school, government, officers, resource officers, family, and resource officer. This count is going to attack up. Is They're not going to stop with just the estate. It wouldn't make sense to, because just his estate's not responsible, or just the shooter is not responsible entirely by himself. So they got to get all the parties involved in the particular one. So that's just one thing that's going on. Guys, like I said, it has been so many things in the news lately. I mean, from celebrity news with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, which, by the way, I wish I would have made a video before, because I called it. I said, watch. Everybody was going after Amber Heard. Everybody was saying, hey, Amber's going to win. Amber's going to win. She got this locked in the bag. Everybody had heard her story as far as the magazine was concerned already. And I believe that everybody was kind of just expecting it to be her to come out as the outcome of the winner. But as life proves, it's a fickle beast and it's kind of funny. Both of them technically won. So I like to put that out there because I've been hearing Johnny Depp won and that Amber lost. Not entirely. Johnny Depp won his three counts, while Amber won one of her three counts. So they both technically won in some respect or in some ways. They both have a level of winnership. It's almost like when the kids play the games now and everybody gets a sticker or everybody gets a trophy or everybody gets a ribbon. It used to be clear winners when we were doing sports, but now everybody gets a ribbon. In this particular instance, it's kind of like everybody gets a ribbon. So for the most part, he gets three ribbons. That's what it's like. So essentially, there was three counts or that he was alleging against Amber. He won all three, so he gets three ribbons. It's like having a defamation suit. So this is what they're okay. Defamation suits remind me of like family reunion games where everybody gets together and you play a series of different games, like the three-legged race or tug of war or the monkey bars or some kind of barbecuing game, but each station is a different game. That's kind of what defamation suits can be about. That's kind of what most suits can be about. Each count or each allegation is like a different part of the game. So he alleged three different segments, three different parts. He won all three of the ones that he went in for. She won one of the three that she went in for. So in if we was all playing, the Paula games or the fun games that we play at school, or it's not Paula games. But if we were all talking about the games, then you say, well, she won one, two, and he won three. That's exactly what happened. Now, because he won more, he got a chance to get a higher award amount, which is why most people are saying, oh, well, he won. Johnny Depp won. Amber Heard didn't win. In some regards, because he did win more, I guess you could say that he was the most or was the victorious one. Um, so he ended up getting a larger settlement offer, a larger settlement amount. So he has to pay her back less than she has to pay him for what happened. Also, there was something called punitive damages that was awarded. For those that don't quite understand that, a punitive damage is essentially a damage that's kind of like you did this. It's kind of like a punishment. No, it's not kind of. It definitively is a punishment. So, on top of someone saying, oh, I'm getting you for the damages that you already caused me, or you get money for back damages, for instance, if it's like a product and I had to go repair the product, you get the product repair damages. But also, you could get damages for punishment. It's to essentially say you did something that is a little more, ooh, what's the word I'm trying to go for? Well, I'm gonna give you the definition. Hold on, guys. Let me see. So, inflicting or intended as punishment. That's literally what the word punitive means. And that's literally what it means to get punitive damages. It is a damages that is given to inflict or intended specifically as punishment. Now, usually this comes in defamation suits. I'm just going to go ahead and throw this in really fast, guys. I am not a civil law attorney. I'm a criminal defense attorney. So I have seen defamation before. And I am a business law attorney. So I have seen defamation before, but I don't actually handle defamation cases. In my readings and my studies of them, however, punitive damages is usually awarded when you can prove or when there's some knowledge or there's some element that says, hey, this person might have did this maliciously. Was this malice intended? Was this, you know, essentially malicious? And for those that don't know, malicious means intending or intended to cause harm. Spiteful is another similar word. Malevolent, hostile, venomous, venomous, poisonous. That's how that word. That's the strength of that word. It's like, so when malicious intent is found in defamation cases, you can get something called punitive or punishment damages. So because they thought that in some respect she did something that may have been a slight bit malicious. In some respect, she might have done something that was a little, I like venomous. I like that word. I'm gonna start using that one. Venomous or poisonous. That girl is poison. Y'all, I don't know why I just thought that, but I thought that song. That's what it made me think of. Because she did that, she has to pay him punitive damages or damages as a punishment for this. But seriously, that makes you think of that girl is poison. Dun, 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 dun. Ooh. Dun, 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 dun. Ah. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. I think in songs sometimes, guys. So that's essentially what happened there. Johnny Depp, on the other hand, it's also been rumored that Johnny Depp is now up to get his role or reprise his role, possibly, of Pirates of the Caribbean. So for those that don't know, one of Johnny Depp's most famous roles that he has had over the last few years is the Pirates of the Caribbean fantasy action world. He has been this character since, I want to say, like, what was it, early 2000s? Wow, that's been a long time. I hadn't even noticed that. Wow. Okay. So he has been this character since the early 2000s, guys. And because of all the issues that was going on with him and Amber Heard, and the defamation suits and the libel, this was one of the things that he was alleging, is that he had lost his prized possession, his most well-known role, which is the Pirates of the Caribbean. He was Captain Jack Sparrow. um it appears that since or post this judgment, there is a possibility that he could get that role back. So I guess in some ways you could say that he won a little bit more, if that is true, that he will be getting his role back, or that he will be able to get some parts of his role back. Um, Not sure. There's no official. I haven't seen an official one happen yet. I haven't seen an official announcement from the Pirates of the Caribbean team. There's been no officiality that says, hey, he's going to get it back. But I can see that. He can see that as a win. I think he can see that as a win, and he has the possibility of getting his job back, which is the whole reason why he did this in the first place. And that's one of the means of what defamation is. Defamation is, you talked about me or said something so untrue, so disrespectful, so wrong, so vicious or venomous, and poisonous that it harmed me, that I lost money, I lost sleep, I lost food, I had to be, institutionalized, whatever these things may be. There was emotional stress, I had severe anxiety, I had to go on medication. All these kinds of things are possibilities that can come with defamation suits, as we also saw with the Cardi B Tasha K suit. So in this particular instance, he's basically saying, hey, because of her article, I wasn't able to reprise the role that I have loved since the early 2000s, that people have grown to love, that has put us at what, 5, 6 films now, that people are, wanting more and more and more of. And because of her, I lost that role. And that's why I'm mad. Well, it's a possibility he might be getting that role back. So good job, Johnny Depp. Now I'm still gonna say what I said at the beginning of this And I still believe that. I don't truly still think that this suit was a good idea for either one of them. I think that he could have probably sat down with the producers in a private conversation in some kind of mediation and explained the situation at a deeper level. Like, hey, this is why I think you guys should put me back in this role and let me reprise my role. I know that it's a lot going on in my life and all of these things are happening or going on. But if you would, take a moment, I think maybe he could have had a conversation with them in that regard. He does stress that part of why he did it was for his children. And, people are willing to do more things for their kids than they're always willing to do. Well, most people are willing to do more things for their kids than they are willing to do for themselves. So it's very possible that, he really was trying to show to his children. But the reason why I'm not a big fan of defamation suits, unless you absolutely have to go, is because defamation airs out all, and I mean haul with an H, haul of your dirty laundry. All of it. As we saw with the Cardi B suit, you got to get down into the nitty gritty of, I mean, they was getting down into her married life. They was getting down into her medical records. Defamation suits get down and gritty and nasty and dirty. They get down into the deep. I think sometimes they get, not sometimes, I'm aware they can get what I believe deeper than even some criminal cases can go. Defamation suits are, they're like, it's not even like well, peeling away an onion. It literally is like picking at a scab and you just keep sticking the thing in it and you just have to keep pulling at it. Defamation suits to me should only be, you should go when you really, really, like, if it absolutely is going to come to a place where, hey, this is going to benefit you, then I suggest you go. But if you're just doing a defamation suit because you mad that Susie said that your car was this color and that you was over here with Tom and Steve, stop wasting your time. Stop it. As my mom used to say, you don't try to fix it. You just let it move on. And most times things blow away anyway, if you just give it enough time. I mean, look at Beyonce. How quiet has Beyonce been on all of the things that has happened with Beyonce? Beyonce be like, Beyonce is the perfect lesson to give to any client. And yes, I said it. Beyonce is what you want to tell, especially as a criminal defense attorney. She know how to be quiet. Exactly. And usually stuff blow right over. You forget about it. 3 or 4 years later, you may bring it back up in conversation as a little lighthearted remark. Like, let's face it, we have brought it up in conversation as a little light remark about the elevator scene with Solange and Jay-Z. But for the most part, she said that one little line in her song, and Beyonce was like, I'm not addressing that. That's what I usually think you should do with libelous and slanderous comments. But there are some times when you have to go, like this Amber Heard trial or the Cardi B situation. I think Cardi B had had enough and it was just time to take it. So if you guys have any comments, any questions, any things that you are thinking about that's been going on this week that you think that I should be discussing, or any questions for me, come on, hit me with it. I'm here. I'm here. So yeah, the Amber Heard. I seriously though, I'm not fond of defamation suits just because, like I said, they get real nasty, as evidenced by the Amber Heard Johnny Depp suit. Defamation suits can be real ugly. I mean, so if Susie just talking about you on a basic level, ain't worth it. Basically, think of a defamation suit like this. Do you want every thought that you've ever thought in your head to be plastered across your face like a ticker? Do you want all the things that you've been involved in to just be like across your face like a ticker or tattooed to your outer skin? If you're not feeling people looking at you and staring at you on that deep of a level, and you are not thinking to yourself, hey, I'm okay with people knowing this and this and this about me, and all the little skeletons I tried to keep in my closet, you try to shove that closet closed. If you're okay with that coming out, then go by all means. But if not, I wouldn't even bother defamation suit. I just let it blow. Well, they say let it roll off your back like duck off of water off a duck's back. That would be my suggestion. So that's another thing that's happened. The Another topic that has happened this week is a topic I recently came across. Guys, I actually was not as familiar with this topic until recently. I decided though to look it up, and apparently there were some offices in Texas who were reporting to a dispute between a guy and his partner. It appears that they were possibly homeless, the man and his wife or his alleged partner. And it sounds like they got into a pretty loud argument. It does not say, or at least I have not found anything that says um, who called the police. I don't know who called the police. Somebody did. And whoever did, they just went to have a conversation. I noticed here the police weren't terribly aggressive. I'm gonna stop at that. And so they approached her first, and because I did watch the Axon and I have read the transcripts of the situation that were also given once they released the Axon cameras from the officers. They approached her first. Once they approached her, they then approached the guy. They happened to be in two separate places, or as officers do, because it's a smart thing to do. They separate the witnesses most times in order to get the best statement that they can from each other so they don't feed off of each other and, can make their stories the same. So they split them up. They were talking to each person. They talked to the lady first, it appears, and then they went and talked to the guy. The guy happened to be at a railing near water and a bridge. And sometime throughout it, they were talking about different things. I watched the Axon in its entirety. They were talking about multiple things. And the guy mentioned that he had a liver problem. He stood up as if he was in a little bit of pain. One of the officers even asked him, "Are you okay? Do you need medical?" He said, "No, I'm okay. I don't need medical." So the officer said, "Okay." He kept mentioning about, having liver issue. One officer made a quick joke about having a liver issue, if I'm not mistaken. And then the man decides to sit on I don't know if it's called the embankment. He went over the railing, guys. All of a sudden, he just decides to not jump, because he didn't jump. He climbed over the railing, and then he sat like on the little concrete part before you get to the he sat on the concrete part before you get to the water. And once he got down there, he sat down there and he said, am I free to leave? I think I remember hearing him say that on the Axon. He asked whether he was free to go and whether he could leave. The officer does not say yes or no. The officer says to him, "You can't swim in there, sir. You can't swim in there." And he says, "What are you doing, sir? What are you doing?" And he says to him, "I just need to take a quick swim." And he says, "Sir, you cannot swim in there." The officer repeatedly says that, actually. He says it at least 2 to 3 times. And the man proceeds to swim. He didn't dive, he didn't jump. He casually kind of walked himself down the embankment and into the water. He then starts to swim. The officers are asking him, "What are you doing? Why are you down there? Come back up. What are you doing?" He's just saying he's swimming. So now the officer's thinking he's trying, I believe, this is just my thoughts, that the officer may be thinking he's trying to flee. Because then the officer puts on dispatch, "Hey, we got a guy that jumps in the water. He's trying to leave. And I think he's trying to get away." He says this into his mic. And the other guy says, "I'm going to go on this side. You stay on this side." Well, they did not show the entire axon because they said it is of a sensitive nature, but they did release the transcripts. I did. I did. Y'all know I read the transcripts. Y'all know I read the transcripts. I read the transcripts, guys. And the transcripts essentially go on to say similar things. They're screaming at him, catch on to something. I guess there must be some kind of railing down there or some kind of rope that they thought he should have been able to get to, or the embankment portion again, they thought he should be able to get to. And they're telling him, swim to that, swim to it, swim to it. And he's like, I can't, I can't, I can't. Now, for whatever reason, he cannot get back. So he starts to scream for help. I need help. I need help. Somebody help me. I need help. Please, guys, help me. The officers don't. You heard me. They don't help. As a matter of fact, you actually hear the officers say, I'm not swimming after you. I'm not coming down there. The transcripts now has the man's significant other come into the picture, and the man's significant other starts screaming, and she's crying and she's cursing. And she's saying, why would you guys help him? Why would you guys help him? He's drowning. He's drowning. I love this man. He's drowning. They're trying to hold her back because now she's trying to jump over the railing to go get him. And they're trying to hold her back like, no, we can't. Ma'am, you got to stay up here. We already got one person over there we can't get to. And so they're telling him, we're not coming down. Just swim. Swim to, I think they call it the python. I actually don't know what that little thing is called. But they're telling him, swim to something, swim up. You swim down, swim up. I will say the man actually did swim. So I do believe that he can swim. But one thing I do want to note here is that one of the officers, the Axon, I think they said it was Axon 3. Yeah, y'all, I remember which Axon it was. I have a criminal defense attorney. The Axon on the officer's body, one of the Axons on the officer's body, there is another guy who looks to be like a security officer in a yellow shirt who says, man, I think it's turbines down there, and I don't think he's going to be able to swim without getting caught in one of those turbines. Mind you, the direction in which the man is swimming is the direction in which he points out that there may be something that could draw him back. Just gonna put it out there. So the officer kind of then knew that there was another problem that may have kept him from being able to come back. Just a thought. Just a thought. The officers subsequently did not help the man. They did not go in after the man. There is some talk about getting to a boat in the transcripts, and the officers were saying that they were trying to get to a boat when the lady was trying to jump in. According to the transcripts, the officers do mention about trying to get to a boat a few times, but unfortunately and subsequently, the man did drown. So the officers have now been put on leave pending an investigation to determine the death of the man and also the officer's duty. And I think it was even mentioned in one press conference that they were talking about how officers training for drownings or for water-based issues and what other equipment they could be given in order to assist in situations like this in the possible and near future. But y'all gotta tell me what y'all think about this one. This one kind of shocked me because when I first read the title of it, it was saying officers watched, saying, I'm not helping you as man drowns. Now, I'll put out Florida, which I am licensed in Florida, has something called a duty of care. Especially now, you have duty of care to be, reasonable on the road, all those kinds of things, and as a responsible person. But there's considered a higher duty of care for people such as law enforcement officers, firefighters, and doctors. Now, I'm also throw this out here. A lot of times, officers, firefighters, and doctors have been sued in the past for being passersby and attempting to help. And then the person didn't turn out the way they wanted to turn out. And so they got mad and they sued the doctor, police officer, and or firefighter and or nurse. So they did create what's called a Good Samaritan law, which puts a cap on in some states and or keeps you from being able to sue in some states based on if that person was trying to actively help you and they were actually one of those licensed doctors, lawyers, law enforcement officers, nurses, and or firefighters. So that brings us to What is Texas law enforcement duty of care? I'm gonna look it up while we're here, y'all. Law enforcement duty of care. Let's see. Now, each state has its own rules. Like I said, in the state of Florida, there is a higher level of duty of care for officers and certain people who have certain training. But you also have to put that in the field of the Good Samaritan law. It is, I think it's a personal shame that they had to actually make a law called the Good Samaritan law to legally protect people who give reasonable assistance. So that's the easiest way to say it. It is actually a law that offers legal protection. This is the Good Samaritan law, guys. This is a law that offers legal protection to people who give reasonable assistance to those who are or who they believe to be injured, in peril, or otherwise incapacitated. So, for instance, if you get into a car accident and you sit on the side of the road and you call the police and the police come, but on the way, this nurse happens to pass by you and she sees you and she sees you hyperventilating and she tries to give you a bag or help you with your hyperventilating, and for some odd reason you're this weird person that has an allergy to brown paper bags. I know, you gotta take it as it is. You have this allergy to brown paper bags, and because you have this allergy to brown paper bags, you start getting hives or rashes, which makes whatever situation that you have worse. Now you're mad because you had to go to the hospital for more than just hyperventilating. You had to be treated for this unknown rash and hives that then cause your throat to close up. Now you got this massive hospital bill, and you want to sue the nurse for giving you the brown paper bag when she saw you on the side of the road, um, you know, having a little trouble with your anxiety and breathing. People actually have sued people for helping them. It's true. If you guys have any questions, don't forget to leave your questions, leave your questions, leave your comments, leave your questions. So, yes, people have actually sued people for helping them. When I first read this when I was in law school, I was a little disappointed. I was like, wow, somebody like really took out the time to help and then you sue them. And think about it, if they hadn't have helped, then somebody would have gotten mad that they didn't help. Is that not the very situation that we're going on with Texas and the school shootings right now? But then when you know that people sue people for things like this, does it give some people apprehension? I think it rightly so does. And many times before the Good Samaritan law came into place, people were winning pretty decent judgments against others when they went to help them. But the Good Samaritan law came into place. It came into place. And because of the Good Samaritan law, all 50 states have one. So it's not maybe the exact same verbiage that one state has. They all have their own original or type or variation of this law, but all 50 states, including the District of Columbia, I know it's in Washington, but we often say that as a separate thing, have some kind of Good Samaritan law. And it basically is just to protect people who want to help people if they see they're injured and ill. Personally, like I said before, it's a little sad that we had this law. So, the duty to assist, that is the that is what we're looking for, right? So we're going to look it up. Duty to assist Texas law enforcement. Now, each state has its own laws of this kind of thing too. Who has a duty? How high is this duty? Does it reach this level or this level or this level? Each state, a lot of countries also have this duty to assist. And essentially, officers are supposed to assist people with reasonableness. So the question in this case is not just going to be, I have many questions in this case though. I really do. I'm curious why the man swam away in the first place. He did show some signs of maybe having some level of pain. I am curious why at some point when they realized he wasn't coming back, they didn't call in for extra support. Like I said, the man did say on the axon that he thought that he was fleeing. And the other guy said, I'm going to go to the other side just to see if he comes up on that side. But I'm curious why they didn't maybe call him back up, like, hey, especially after the guy in the yellow, which I think is a security officer, especially after he mentions that there may be some kind of turbine or there may be some kind of restrictive means that would pull him in that he may not be able to get out of the water. Because he actually says that, like, you hear it on the axon. He tells the guy, one of the officers that was actually going onto the bridge to that actually is one of the officers that I believe says to the guy, I'm not going in after you. That there may be a reason why this guy may not be able to get back. I am very curious as to why they may not have called in support at that time. And not just to say, hey, this man's fleeing from us, but to say maybe we might need some help here. We're not sure what to do in this situation. You know, oh boy just jumped in the water and he can't get out. Um, it's a lot of questions in this case, guys. I know that they're gonna have to do a thorough um thorough yeah, they're gonna have to do a thorough investigation. I really do. Like, I'm very curious why I the man jumping into the water kind of sort of makes me think he was trying to flee. The reason why I say that is because when he gets in the water is the first and only time, actually, at least from the axon that they provided us with. Now he may have said it before that axon came on. I can't say that. I can only say the parts that they have released. On the parts that they have released, he does not ask if he is free to leave until he's in the water or near the embankment of the water. Part of me thinks that maybe he was trying to swim away and then got in the water and realized it was a lot bigger and probably cold, and he probably couldn't keep going. Tell me your thoughts. Like, come on, guys, it's time for y'all to chime in. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you think. Why do you think this man jumped into this water? I really am curious. Why do you think he was fleeing? Do you think he thought the water could help him? Maybe because he didn't seem to be. He did look like he may or may not have been feeling the best. And the officers did ask him if he needed medical attention. He said he did not. So it's possible that maybe he thought, going for a quick swim would help his medical condition cool his body down. I don't know. I know nothing about livers. I'm not a doctor. But he did mention that he has a liver issue because they asked him. I remember one of them asking him, and he did mention that he had a liver issue. So why did the man get in the water in the first place? Is the question that was the first thing that came to my brain. Why did that man get in the water? I'm so curious. I'm very curious. Then I'm curious why they didn't, once he got in the water, immediately say, we might need a little bit. This is a slightly different situation than the ones we've dealt with in the past. Maybe we should call for some help to advise us on what to do next. I'm sure they probably had people running in the water in the cars. I'm sure they probably had people that have swam in lakes before, but this is or little small rivers that they can get to the other side pretty quickly. But I don't think that this was that situation. This was a large body of water. I think at that point, when he got in that water, the officers should have been like, okay, this is a decently large, um, this is a decently like large body of water. Just maybe we should call in some extra help here. It's very possible we haven't dealt with this situation before. I kind of think that they should have done something like that. Maybe I'm wrong in that thought, but I don't think I'm wrong in that thought. I kind of feel like, maybe, just maybe, something different could have went down here. Um, Yeesh. I don't know. I see a comment though. Okay, Kanisha said, I was thinking possibly drugs and body temperature or health issue and body temperature or just plain fleeing. I thought that too. So there's a small that's why I say I'm thinking from both sides here. As a criminal defense attorney, guys, that's what most are gonna do. I'm gonna think for both sides. I'm thinking to myself, either one, he was fleeing, and the reason why I said fleeing, I repeat, is because it is the first time I hear him ask the question, am I free to leave? He hadn't asked that question up until that point on any other part of the axon. I don't remember him asking that question at any other time or any other point in the axon. So that's why I kind of thought maybe he was fleeing. But then knowing that he wasn't feeling, or he didn't appear to be feeling so well, and they even asked him if he needed medical, and he said that he had a liver problem, I'm agreeing here that maybe because he thought his body temperature was too hot, he probably thought he had to cool down and the water was probably cold. So he probably went into the water thinking, hey, I can get into the water. Or it's possible that, yes, he might have been on some kind of drug and was trying to, and the drug had him thinking that he should go in the cold water to cool himself off. Or the drug had him thinking, hey, I could swim across this big old, I don't even know what this thing is called. I don't know if it's a river. It's a massive body of water. I don't know if he was thinking maybe he could get to the other side quicker. Am I the only person that thinks that maybe he was thinking I could get to the other side? I'm gonna just do it. And then he got over there, and as he started to swim, he started to realize I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it, and decided, let me go ahead and start to come back. But at that point, probably got stuck in those turbines that the security officer was talking about, and couldn't make his way back. And the next thing you know, he can't help himself, and now he's asking for help. That's a good theory. I like that theory. Anybody else got any theories on why they think this man put his self into the water? Because the axon shows that he didn't get chased. He was not actively running from officers at this time. Now that's probably going to be an argument for defense. There, if he does, if they do bring up that idea that he was trying to flee, they're probably going to say, well, he wasn't being actively chased at that time, nor was he running. Um, Nor did the officers tell him that he wasn't free to go. Because on the axon, they did not tell him that he wasn't free to go. Nope. They did not tell him that he was not free to go. So he could have thought, as he asked the question, am I free to go? Because he said something along the lines of, I can leave, right? I'm free to go, right? When he got into the water. I like that theory though. Because that's kind of what I was thinking. I'm still curious why he got in the water. My three biggest questions of this conversation is, why did he get into the water in the first place? Why didn't the officers call for help in a more substantial way? As I stated before, the officer did put in a call on his axon saying that the guy had jumped into the water to flee, but in my opinion, should have made a more substantial call, especially after finding out that there was some kind of possible suction, like whirlwindish turbine in the water. And then number three, My question would be, I think I actually have the answer to number 3 a little bit, but I'm still asking the question. Number 3 is why they didn't let the lady go in when she tried to. Now I get it. They didn't probably want 2 people stuck in there that they had to worry about getting out now. I know a lot of people probably trying to figure out why they didn't go in. They probably having a lot of clothes. I wonder if they could swim. That's also another question. Um, and then the other question is, and I don't think I know this either, and I've worked with a lot of officers, but I don't think I've ever asked this question. Do they have flotation devices or some kind of water based assistance? That is a good question. Do officers even have the equipment to deal with something like this? Which it sounds like they don't, or Texas police head would not have mentioned that in his live talk regarding the incident. He did mention about how they could start getting equipment that can help better serve someone if this situation were to happen again. So I'm under the impression that officers don't have any kind of floaties or things of that nature. But yeah, guys, keep commenting why you think this man got in the water in the first place, and why you think that um, the officers didn't, I don't know, get to a boat sooner. I will say that was literally around maybe the last 5 to 6 sentences of the transcripts that were released that there was even any mention about a boat. Maybe the boat was already on its way when they said that he had jumped in the water, and that he tried to flee when he jumped in the wood. He didn't jump. I'm sorry. He casually swam into the water because jumping implies he jumped. Shoo, and tried. Nah, he didn't jump. I'm not, because he did not jump. He casually sauntered down the embankment, sat on it for a bit, trying to see if he was free to leave, and then swam. I think he could have been high. I don't know. I don't know. Unfortunately, though, he did drown. And now these 3 officers are on paid leave. I want to know why did this man get in this water? Um, hmm, I agree. I think he had to either been fleeing from the police, and that's why he got in this water, or he's possibly hyped up on a drug that made him think that was a smart decision, or he really thought that he could help himself with his health issues by getting in the cool water, and it just did not work out for him. That's a tough one. Tough place to be. Well, guys, that's all we got tonight. I have ran my mouth for over 50 minutes. If you have any conversations, concerns, any things that you think that we should talk about on the show, or you have any topics that you want us to discuss, or any fun things that you want us to get to, or any current events that you was like, man, we need to talk about that next time, tell us. Come on, and next time bring your comments. We love reading your comments. I love reading your comments. I love being able to interact and have your comments read out loud. So give us your comments, give us your concerns, help us decide what topics you want to do. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and to go subscribe on YouTube. I have follow us on YouTube here, but I need to say subscribe because that's what I want you to do. I want you to subscribe. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and make sure that you tell a friend, phone a friend, and say, hey, I got the show that I watch on Thursdays, and she talks about these fun current events, and she talks about all the legal ramifications of these events. Tell them to follow us. Y'all, I got a typo. Don't judge my typo. Follow, subscribe to us um, on YouTube. And don't forget to share, 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 share. It was nice talking to you guys tonight. And I got a chance to air out all the crazy current events that have been running around in my head over the last couple of days. Because as I started off with this topic, it has been a lot of things that have happened in the news. If it's not one thing, it's another. It's a lot going down. So, be safe out in these streets, guys. And I hope you have a wonderful Thursday evening. Oh, and share, share. Bye.